This question is a bit lengthy one. If you would like to
go ahead, please.
The promised Messiah, in the preface of his book, Masih Hindustan mein, has written, if you would allow me, I read the relevant passage. और जैसा कि अभी मैंने बयान किया है, दिस इज मसीह हिंदुस्तान में दिबाचा सफ़ा 4, और जैसा कि अभी मैंने बयान किया है, ये लोग यानी मुसलमानों से अहले हदीस वगैरह बड़े जोश से ये एतकाद जाहिर करते हैं कि मसीह के उतरने से कुछ अरसा पहले बनी फातिमा में से एक इमाम पैदा होगा जिसका नाम मोहम्मद महदी होगा, और दरअसल खलीफा वक़्त और बादशाह वही होगा क्योंकि वो कुरैश में से होगा। और चूँकि गरज इसकी ये होगी कि तमाम गैर कौमों को इस्लाम से मुनकर हैं, जो इस्लाम से मुनकर हैं, कत्ल कर दिया जाए, वजूद ऐसे शख्स के जो जल्दी से कलमा पढ़ ले। इसलिए उसकी मदद और हाथ बटाने के लिए हज़रत ईसा अलैहिस्सलाम आसमान से उतरेंगे, और वो हज़रत ईसा अलैहिस्सलाम भी बजाय खुद एक महदी हैं, बल्कि बड़े महदी वही हैं। लेकिन इस बात से कि खलीफा वक़्त कुरैश में से होना चाहिए, इसलिए हज़रत ईसा अलैहिस्सलाम खलीफा वक़्त नहीं होंगे, बल्कि खलीफा वक़्त वही मोहम्मद महदी होगा। और कहते हैं कि ये दोनों मिलकर ज़मीन को इंसानों के खून से भर देंगे और इस कदर खून रेजी करेंगे जिसकी नज़ीर इब्तदाई दुनिया से आखिर तक किसी जगह नहीं पाई जाएगी। और आते ही खून रेजी ही शुरू कर देंगे और कोई बात वगैरह नहीं करेंगे और ना कोई निशान दिखाएंगे। और कहते हैं कि अगरचे हज़रत ईसा अलैहिस्सलाम इमाम महदी के लिए बतौर मशीर या वज़ीर के होंगे और इनाने हुकूमत सिर्फ महदी के हाथ में होगी, लेकिन हज़रत मसीह तमाम दुनिया के कत्ल करने के लिए हज़रत इमाम महदी को हर वक्त उकसाएंगे और नीज़ मशवरे देते रहेंगे। वह इस इखलाकी ज़माना की कसर निकालेंगे, जबकि आपने ये तालीम दी थी कि किसी शर का मुकाबला मत करो और एक गाल पर तमाचा खाकर दूसरी गाल भी फेर दो। मसीह हिंदुस्तान में हैज़ रिटन दैट ए मुस्लिम सेक्ट, I repeat again, the promised Messiah in the preface of his book Masih Hindustan mein has written that a Muslim sect, in brief, in the gist of that, has written that a Muslim sect named Al-Hadith believe that Imam Muhammad Mahdi will be born among Quraysh, and Hazrat Masih alayhi salam, that is Jesus Christ, will come from the sky to assist him in spreading Islam by force. To separate Hazrat Sahib's remarks and here, and my own start now. As the belief of spreading religion by force is contrary to the teachings of the Holy Quran, where it is written, La ikraha fi din, and also the practice of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the question: would Hazur kindly explain to us whether all the other sects of Islam also believe just as the Ahle Hadith believe, or are there some sects which believe that Imam Mahdi and Masih Maud will be the same person and spread Islam through peaceful means as we the Ahmadis believe?
Apart from Ahle Hadith and Deobandis, who also believe in the tradition in the same manner, with a minor difference, all, both of them under the larger denomination of Ahl Hadith believe in all these things. But unfortunately, nowadays the standard of religious knowledge has deteriorated so much that most of the Maulvis of today, though belonging to these two sects, do not know their own beliefs. So when an Ahmadi confronts them with all this, many a time they deny this. They say, no, this is not our belief. Uni Mahdi, that is a famous epithet given to Mahdi, they denounce it under the influence of the modern age. But if you speak to really scholarly people, they will admit, yes, this is exactly what's going to happen. As far as the other denominations are concerned, other sects of Islam are concerned, there are found two types of people among them. Sunnis and Shias. They have their own particular beliefs. The Shiites have modified on these things, and they again are divided in themselves. Some of them believe, those who are called Asna Ashari, they believe that the 12th Imam was the Imam Mahdi, and he has disappeared. As I have related earlier, some believe that he has gone to heaven, but most among them believe that he has disappeared in Ghar Antakya. But still, Ghar Antakya is a cave in Antakya. It's called Ghar Antakya. So they believe that he has disappeared in that cave and will reappear from that cave. Some people don't know that many among the Shiites today don't even know of Ghar Antakya. They believe that he has ascended to heaven and is waiting there and would descend one day. But that is an internal difference, minor thing. As far as the consensus is concerned, both believe that he came and disappeared, and now he has a continuous contact with some of his deputies who receive instruction from him and issue the same to the rest of the people. And they are the Naib Aimma among the Shiites of Iran. For instance, Imam Khomeini is not an Imam Mahdi himself, but and not even an Imam, truly speaking. He is only a deputy or other such great scholars, religious leaders in Iran. They are believed to be deputies of the absent Imam, who, through word of mouth or through intuition, conveys to them his message, his wishes and desires, and then they are further conveyed to the people. So they are taken to be as words of the Imam Mahdi. This is why they have to believe in every word of scholars of such station. So among Shiites there are others who believe that he has not appeared at all. He would come one day. And those believe almost in the similar status of Imam Mahdi as the Ahl Hadith do. Their Imam is going to be born from among the Fatimites, that is, the descendants of Hazrat Fatima, and they also believe his name would be Muhammad and so on. Only they believe that he would come also to destroy the rest of the world, the Sunnis as well. And the same process to destroy all Shiites, and only the Shiites are those who succumb to the protest. Among the what Imam Mahdi would do. And the ordinary Maulvis, they only heard a few things. And that they remember, those few things they remember. That Imam Mahdi would read the prayer and Hazrat Isa would say his prayer behind him. And he would do for 40 years. And so on and so forth. So important items as we believe, which are commonly known. As far as the slaughtering is concerned, that is only known to some scholars. Of the Muslim sects. All together. Then is concerned, Ahle Quran are very prominent in that. But not only Ahle Quran, most modern Muslims have completely severed their ties with the possible Imam Mahdi. They are not waiting for him. Let him, if he does not, they don't care. The point is that they don't know and they don't believe. So they don't want to be bothered by anything. This modern movement is led by Allama Iqbal, mainly, who considers all these expectations to be a remnant of the past which has its roots in the Jewish concepts or some other previous concepts. And these followers of Allama Iqbal, although many among them are not Ahle Quran, many followers of Iqbal are either Ahle Hadith or Ahle Sunnah, the rest of them. But under the influence of Iqbal, they think that they are all just like opium as conceived by Marx to keep their masses lulled and as if under drug. And nobody would come. They are un-Islamic concepts. They have been grafted to Islam, according to these people, by the later influence of the Jewish or some other religious people who came into Islam in later centuries. So this is in a nutshell the whole situation. But the commoners as such, that is to be the great majority of Muslim ordinary people, they have not only heard of Imam Mahdi, they are still expecting him. But not with all these details. Mostly they know this one thing which is very important to them, that he is going to come to distribute money to the believers. And they are waiting for that. According to them, he would distribute money to the extent that the recipient would ultimately get tired of all that money. And he would say, for God's sake, finish, bus. Enough is enough. I cannot carry more money, or I cannot, I do not desire or require any more money. And enough you have given me quite enough. And this he will do to the entire Ummah, all the believers, and none would be left. That is the concept which is most commonly known to the commoner. And they like it so much, that they are waiting, in fact they are yearning, dying to see Imam Mahdi, but the one who would distribute money, not the one who would ask for chanda and tell you to deprive you of your own hard-earned money. So there, the concept of the present-day Muslims and the attitude of all earlier messengers of Allah are in exactly diametrical opposition to each other. This is the only Imam, if he comes as such, he would be the only Imam in the history of religion who has come to distribute money rather to ask for financial sacrifices. Because according to the Holy Quran, all the previous Imams, prophets, whatever you call them, they always came with the message that you spend in the cause of Allah. As a history in nutshell, the Holy Quran tells us, لم يكن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين منفكين حتى تأتيهم البينة وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة وذلك دين القيم. That all those prophets who came earlier, all the messengers of Allah who came earlier, had Deen al-Qayyimah with them, the fundamentals of religion. And those fundamentals lie in three directions. Number one, they told the people, Ya'budullah mukhlisina lahuddina wa yuqimus salat. They should worship Allah in entirety, having no partner to Him in whatever sense. With all purity, they should they should worship Allah in the sense that in nothing they should have any shadow of partnership to Allah in their mind. That is, the entire love should be devoted to Him, all one's energy should be devoted to Him, all one's wealth should be devoted to Him. With all their hearts, they should love Allah and worship Him. That is Mukhlisina Lahuddin. The second, Mukhlisina Lahuddin means that they should learn their way of life from Allah. That is, they should receive their laws, regulating their conduct in life from Allah. And they should not bow down to anyone else for that code of life, which is religious code. Mukhlisina Lahuddin here in the meaning in the sense that their faith, their way of life should be directed and controlled entirely by Allah and by none else. In as much as Allah wishes them to obey any other person, they would, but not a jot beyond. The second fundamental of religion, which according to the Holy Quran in these verses is common to all religions, all over the world in all times, is that they instructed them to yuqimu salata, to pray regularly, fulfilling all its requirements. Yuqimu salata means so many things, but as a gist, in a few words you can say, to say prayer fulfilling all its requirements. That is yuqimu salat. Wa yutu zakat, and they should spend in the way of Allah. This is the word which is most important in this context. That according to the Holy Quran, not a single prophet ever appeared who distributed money. Rather, he demanded money in the cause of Allah, and this is common to all religions and every prophet. So this Imam Mahdi, as expected by the commoners of today, is going to break that law completely. He would be the only exception in the entire world of messengers who would say, no, I have not come to order you to pay zakat, that is to spend in the way of Allah. I have come to distribute money. Now this is the concept of Mahdi they know. But as you travel westwards towards the more intolerant mullah of the northwest and so on, there the Khoni Mahdi takes more and more prominence along with this money distribution factor. There the Holy Mahdi is much more well known to them rather than to the people in the Punjab and to the people in the further south. Is that all you wanted to know? Or some factors are there? Huh?
This is
Please go ahead.
So what I wanted, the gist of that was, all these beliefs Hazur has explained belong to the other Muslims who have not joined Ahmadiyyat. But Ahmadiyyas believe differently. We believe there will be Imam Mahdi and Hazrat Isa alayhi salam will be in one person. Secondly, there will be no compulsion in converting. My question is that is there any other sect or Muslims people who believe the same, that Hazrat Isa and Mahdi will be the one person?
Those who are more logical, they have completely abandoned the concept of Mahdi. That is what I wanted to point out. In the process, I forgot to mention this. Now, the only people who were expected to behave rationally were the modern Muslims who have received the light of day of the modern times. But they have reacted differently. They have abandoned the concept of Mahdiyyat altogether, and they have done away with it. So why should they modify their beliefs? They are not interested. Huh?
Much better understanding now. Because I thought that there may be some people who may agree.
Those who agree, they have become Ahmadis. Please.
So my question is regarding the life of Jesus, rather the death of Jesus. In his last days, he was tried in a court and given the verdict that he is a criminal and taken to the cross. The Holy Quran says that they failed to crucify him and they could not kill him. Rather, they were put into a doubt. And then God raised him towards him, which we interpret as his status was exalted, giving the reason that Jews believe that when we crucify him on the cross and he dies, he will be called a cursed one. And God saved him from that curse. Now looking at the events of the cross, how Jesus was taken down from there and taken to a grave and an artificial burial was arranged, all sorts of formalities were performed which appeared that he had died. Even his companions, they spread the news that he died on the cross and took permission from Pilate to bury him. The question arises, how this can become an argument for those Jews who are not wicked. I mean, who are not wicked. I mean, some of the mullahs are wicked. They were exactly the same mullahs that we have today. They were shouting, they were jeering, and they were telling him, come down from this cross if you are truthful. Those who were just waiting for this sign to appear that God will save him if he is the truthful person, they could never have the knowledge as Jesus planned the journey away.
That is what has been mentioned so often by me, and the Holy Quran itself points out in the same verse which we have quoted,
Yes.
referred to, that there was no knowledge in the Jews either that they have succeeded in having him killed. The Holy Quran says, وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ. Before this it says, وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. And after this it says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ. They are just conjecturing that he might have died. And because they have no sure proof that he has died, so they cannot claim that he has met an accursed death. Now this claim of the Holy Quran is supported by the New Testament on the authority of the witnesses. The New Testament declares that the Jews kept searching for the body of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, in doubt. They were not at all sure whether he had died. Why that mad search for the body? Because they suspected that some hanky-panky has been committed somewhere. And they declared, according to the Bible, they went to Pilate maybe, and told him that unless they are given the body of Jesus Christ, they would not believe that he is dead. Because according to them, he was a very cunning person. He might not have died at all upon cross. So when he is seen again in future sometime, he would claim that he has been raised from the dead.
Yes,
this is exactly the suspicion. Yes?
Yes. They said that before this event of cross took place, he said, I will rise up after 3 days.
Right, yes.
So
he would say he is a very cunning person. And that is what he is going to say. So that showed that they had more doubt than belief in the result of crucifixion. And naturally, they could not have been convinced. That panic was created not merely by the fact that they had missed the body, by all the concomitant facts of the whole crucifixion. Because mostly the people who were hanged on cross took about 3 days to die, definitely. Some would take a few hours less or maybe a day less, but not by that margin.
No, so my main question was, let us say there is a Jew who is honestly seeking to verify the truth of Jesus. Doubtful consideration of an event, can it lead to conviction?
No, not the conviction. It is on the other hand, the Jewish claim that he was a false prophet, that is exploded. To prove
unless he is certain that he is not killed on the cross.
No, that's not the point. The claim has been made by the Jews that we have proved Jesus Christ to be false. How?
Because
by having him killed upon cross. And they can't prove it.
So the question of proof lies on them.
Yes, that's right, obviously.
Okay,
it is their claim. The Holy Quran begins with this. If you understand the style of the Holy Quran, then nothing is left unanswered. The Holy Quran says, referring to the Jews, وَبِكُفْرِهِمْ وَقَالِهِمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا الْمَسِيحَ عِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. It is their claim. They claim that we have caused Jesus Christ to be murdered, while they have no proof. So if you claim that you have murdered someone or have killed somehow, it is your responsibility to prove it. And the Holy Quran is taking just that attitude. It doesn't say that it is proved beyond doubt that Jesus Christ did escape. That altogether. It says that it is proved beyond doubt that the Jewish claim has no legs to stand upon. What happened later? He says we know better. And now the second part of the argument begins from here onwards. Jesus Christ is known to have been seen by his followers.
Yes.
Afterwards. Now, the evidence is further strengthened by the fact that instead of leaving Jesus Christ alone and having renegated from his religion, after crucifixion they become much more staunch in their beliefs. And the same people were transformed. They must have seen something. Had they known him to have died because they had taken the body, they were the best witnesses. Then they should have lost faith in him. Now the Christians take this attitude that they must have seen the revival of Jesus Christ from the dead. This is what transformed him. The Ahmadis say, no, he never died, and this is what transformed them, because then he was proved to be a true man. under circumstances as the world had never seen anybody survive, he was the only person who survived. So that was the miracle according to us. Either way, their behavior, the post-crucifixion behavior tells us that they must have got something. So a normal, sane Jew cannot ignore all that evidence completely, particularly in the light of the first evidence that the Jews were themselves suspicious that he had not died. When they were themselves suspicious, then there is more likelihood. If there is more likelihood, let's go further. Now we see that even the Christians who believe that he died, they produce evidence against themselves. And they believe that he was risen from the dead, while the symptoms or the conditions which they themselves relate do not belong to a person who might have risen from the dead. They belong to a person who was taken down from the cross alive, because he has the same body, same wounds, the same appetite and same requirements, the same need for hideouts and everything. The same fear for his life. So that shows that both the Jews and Christians are here agreed upon this fact, that he must have been taken down alive. Now you go further, the Holy Quran would carry them further, of course. The Quran claims that we saved him and his mother and removed him to a place of peace and where the natural springs flow and Rabbatin, and it's petrolite place. Now, these three, of course, indicate to a place which is quite similar to the area known as Kashmir. So, there is a possibility of his being found there. Now, when we can take the Jews along and show them the evidence that here he has disappeared and there he has appeared, and now there is more and more evidence amassing in favor of this view. So, all put together, a sensible Jew can be brought to understand these things. And again, you can say that where has your Messiah gone? You can categorically, to you it is categorically, to them you can say to a reasonable degree, proof from the Old Testament that the prophet who was to appear after Messiah, that is Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is come. So if he was not the Messiah, where has Messiah gone? So roundabout way or here and there you can put on some plugs where they cannot escape.
Yes.
And you can't prove it like 2 and 2 to make 4, but reasonably you can prove it to the Jews there.
Yes, Hazur, the first part is very clear. Second question rises, why didn't God do something so that this doubt will not continue for such a long period? Even among the Muslims, they make in doubt.
God has done it.
He has done it after 2,000 years.
Yes, but for God, 2,000 years.
Was it planned that Jews should remain on the wrong path and as a punishment or something?
Already it has been mentioned in the Holy Quran that except those who reform themselves, the rest of the Jewish people stand condemned in the eyes of Allah. And he was the last sign of condemnation. Jesus Christ was, because Ilmul Lissa means he was the sign of a great revolution, a great change. So in fact he was the culmination of he was the culmination of the punishment which was awaiting the Jews for centuries of criminal acts and insistence on being cruel to the righteous people. So that is just one part of the whole drama which has been unfolded in the previous history. Don't consider it as a separate event. Consider it as the last event in the Jewish history when they are finally chucked out and dissociated from Allah. Again, with this clear statement by the Holy Quran, that still among them there are pious people who, if they hear the message, if you convey the thing correctly to them, they would believe. There are honest people among them too. So do not condemn a race, however cursed it may appear to you or may have been declared, as a whole. So that exception must be kept in mind when I make these statements. So the Jews were declared to have been done away with by the last act of crime against Jesus Christ. After that, if some of them begin to see light, that is a rare phenomenon. As a whole, they have been condemned. And they are living an extinct life, spiritually extinct life.
I have some questions regarding the life of Hazrat Isa Islam, and this is the one of the series. My second, I got one more after that.
Will you start with the second?
Now second, and then it will be third if I get time. In correction of the Hazrat Isa Islam's life. It was very long.
No, you have two questions more.
Yes, two
You
questions
want
more.
to begin with the second instead of the first.
No, first I asked in respect of one, whether there are two personalities, Mahdi and all. This is the second one in the same connection. The incident of crucifixion has been mentioned in the Holy Quran. Could Hazur kindly mention for our information if it has also been mentioned in ahadith of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
You didn't have this question edited, did you? Not this one.
Hazur, it has been edited, but not, I can't mention it.
All right. So, would you repeat the question? Keep sitting and repeat the question, please.
The incident of crucifixion has been mentioned in the Holy Quran. Could Hazur kindly mention
Yes, please.
for our information if it has also been mentioned in ahadith of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Not as such. In fact, the advent of Jesus Christ, of Messiah, has been mentioned repeatedly and very often in the traditions. But what happened to him during crucifixion or afterwards, that has not been mentioned by the Holy Prophet of Islam. This is, in fact, what Hazrat Masih Maud has been pointing out in his favor. He says that if Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam had understood from the Holy Quran that something exceptional had happened to Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, how could he have missed that great event? And how could he have omitted that altogether? A prophet is not dead, he is alive, as understood by the present-day Muslims. If the same was the message received by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the Holy Quran, while he was speaking so often about the coming of Messiah, how could he miss that event? He does not even mention it remotely. So Hazrat Masih Maud threw this challenge to his opponents to even produce the weakest of traditions from the tradition books of any sect where Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam is known to have mentioned that Jesus Christ is the one prophet who did not die. He is still alive and he has ascended to heaven and he did not die upon cross. This has not been mentioned. I mean, not only that he did not die upon cross, but he did not die at all and he is still alive. That tradition is not to be found. As Muslim Maud threw a challenge with some reward. How much? 10,000 or more? Was it? I think it was 10,000. Which no one has been able to receive that reward because no such tradition exists. Please. Inke baad, after.
So my question is about the distribution of money by the promised Messiah. Imam, when he will come, he will, according to the non-Ahmadis, money distribute the money. In the tradition, what are the words? Is there any exception who will not accept that money? Exception for those who will accept that money according to that is blessings, not the literal money. What are the words of the tradition? Could you please?
I don't remember. एक और भी है लफ्ज इसके अलावा यूसीब की बजाय युफीजुल माल, राइट। आपने क्या कहा था? युफीज ही कहा था, ठीक है। युफीजुल माला हत्ता ला यकबला अहदुन, हत्ता ला यकबलहु यकबलहु, यकबलो लो नहीं, हत्ता दिवेलाल मंसूब हो गया ना, हत्ता ला यकबलहु अहदुन मिन्हु। The words are, he would distribute, faz you understand, the word faz pahunchana. So yufizo means he would distribute the wealth to the people. Hatta la yaqbalahu ahadun minhu, to the degree that people would refuse to accept that ultimately. This is the meaning which I have already described. So, according to the Ahmadiyya tradition, it is not possible for anyone, whether he is a prophet or whoever he be, to distribute wealth to the extent that people are fed up and they refuse. Number one. Why? Because it is against the traditions of the Holy Prophet and against the declaration of the Holy Quran about the nature of man, who is so greedy. Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that you give one full valley full of wealth and animals and things to the son of man, and his belly will still not be full. He would demand for another one. And you give another one and he would still demand for another one. You give this entire world and he would say another word. So this is the import of the tradition of the Holy Prophet about man's nature. And the Holy Quran also declares him repeatedly to be so greedy, as if he were made of greed. So how could that happen? That the Imam Mahdi is distributing wealth and people say no, enough is enough. So that must mean something else. I would come to that later. And the second thing is, if he is distributing this only to a few people, then it's understandable to some extent. But if he is distributing it to all the believers, then it's impossible for the rest of the world not to begin believing in him. And if he distributes that wealth to the old believers and the new believers all together, then the point of absolute inflation would be reached in a matter of days. The entire economy of the countries where Imam Mahdi has appeared will be totally annihilated and destroyed, never to be rebuilt again, because everybody in the country will be wealthy. So much so that he would not stand in need of anything from anywhere, from anybody else. If you are selling nuts, for instance, and you go to buy those nuts, the person would say, why should I sell the nuts to you? I got enough money from Imam Mahdi, so much so that I have refused. You would say, I'll pay you $100,000 million if you please give me a few nuts. He would call you nuts. You say, have you gone nuts? I've just told you that I have refused that money to refused that money to be received from Imam Mahdi's hand. Why should you stand in need of it? So the entire wealth which would be distributed by Imam Mahdi, the moment it is distributed, it would turn into dust. Completely meaningless, useless load, nothing more. So is that what they are expecting? Is that what they are attributing to the greatest of the prophets? The wisest of the prophets? They simply don't understand. They neither understand the word of the Holy Prophet nor the verses of the Holy Quran. While this enigma has already been solved in the Holy Quran by mentioning a wealth which people do not accept. وَإِذَا أَنَّمْنَا عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ أَعْرَضَ وَنَأَى بِجَانِبِهِ. When we bestow blessings upon man, anama means to enrich him, to give him things. Anama is a wider word than wealth. To bestow favors on someone in every direction is the word, is covered by the word inam. So Allah says that when we choose man to bestow upon him all our favors, he refuses, turns away, says no, I'm not going to have it. This is the wealth to distribute which all the prophets come. And this is the wealth which has always been refused according to the Holy Quran. So we believe in the terminology of the Holy Quran. We believe that this is the terminology which was understood by Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam and used by him. They are using some borrowed terminology of the modern economics and they don't understand that either. If they are right, then the whole exercise is futile and meaningless. It's the greatest fraud that could be committed upon any people. That they are waiting for more than 1,000 years, or maybe 2,000 or many thousand years for them. And when the Imam ultimately comes, he just distributes dust and nothing more. That is what it amounts to. Your second question? Or the same? Please.
So, my question is now, is there exception as we Ahmadis accepted that money in the hadith? Is there any?
That is understood from the same verse which I have cited.
Yes.
The Holy Quran is referring to a certain type of people, while it just says insan. وَإِذَا أَنَّمْنَا عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ أَعْرَضَ وَنَأَى بِجَانِبِهِ. Here obviously no exception is made, but everybody knows that by al-insan here only the non-believers are meant when the Holy Quran says al-insan, that is a typical class of insan, not as a genus homo sapien, but among the people there is a class of people which is so much in majority that you can use the word insan because they are much larger in number. So the exceptions are not mentioned. So this is what happens. And also why al-insan is mentioned here, because in the beginning the very great majority of the people refuse, and they slowly begin to understand and accept that wealth much later on. It's a very thin trickle. But the first moment when the Prophet declared that I have come to distribute the spiritual wealth, the mass reaction of man is this. So here man is mentioned not as the entire community of mankind, but man in nature as such shows this reaction. You know, the species of man is built like this. This is the meaning of it. Please, yes. Just a moment. I first promised him that I would permit him to ask questions. Yes. Your name, please?
Sayyid Burhan Ahmad Qadri from Detroit, Michigan.
Where did you come?
I came yesterday.
You chose from the same Nehru region, Hamidullah Shah and you, and both chose to put your questions together simultaneously. You know him?
No, I don't.
He was called by Salis as man from the north. He is, among Ahmadis, he has a distinction that he has been to the northernmost part of the world so far, and no other entity is known to us who has gone beyond where he has been. Which is the latitude? Northern latitude?
The northernmost was 71st north. 71st parallel. 71st parallel, Huzur.
Huzur, I have two questions relating to preaching. In course of discussions with my non-Ahmadi Muslim friends, we are continuously faced by this possibility about the continuity of prophethood. It is clear from the arguments advanced by our Jamaat that there will be prophet after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, what I am concerned.
No, this is saying it too crudely. We believe with some modification, not like that, like the sweeping statement. What we believe is this, that Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final law-bringing prophet, after whom no one would be ever revealed any new law, number one. Secondly, we believe that even a prophet who doesn't bring a new law but reforms his law cannot ever come. Nobody would be permitted to interfere into the law as given to him, and Allah will not mend this law in any way. That is the second part of our belief. The third is that the word of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam would remain supreme till the end of the time, and no prophet or none whatsoever can come from Allah who has the right to interfere even in the traditions of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it is his coin which is going to be the coin for the rest of the world. With this introduction, now begins the different belief that we have from the rest of the Muslims. Right. And there we believe that a subordinate of the Holy Quran, a subordinate of the Holy Prophet, may be elevated by Allah to the rank of an appointment as a prophet. But he would be a subordinate prophet, not an independent one. After this, what is the question?
Right, so that one is pretty clear. The question is there, that means will there be prophets after Muslim?
If they are required in the knowledge of Allah, if necessity appears, there is absolutely no one. Absolutely no one. But we don't know. All we know is this, that Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam has prophesied for one person to come as a prophet, that we know, and we have believed in him.
Right.
If another person comes, this question would be asked of him. That the previous subordinate prophet who came, he showed his authority, he brought his bona fides along with him. He referred to the traditions of the Holy Prophet, that this is the tradition which was about me and this has been fulfilled. So show your bona fides. Where has the Holy Prophet mentioned another one to come? So that would be their problem, not mine or yours.
Right.
Yes.
Although I have other questions again relating. As you know, most of the intelligentsia in West are atheists or agnostics. And problem is compounded in preaching them is that the people who are religious are not perceived to be very bright. And the non-believers or the atheists in those countries are progressively better in relation to other human beings than the other religious class, with the exception of Ahmadis. So that means it becomes a difficult task to approach to them regarding religion. For them, religion causes more problem than solves because we can show direct examples.
Yes, but you can use all that to your own advantage, because you are also on the receiving end of all the problems caused and created by religion, that is so-called religion. So you tell them, yes, we are with you here. Anything committed in the name of religion which is not truly religious is to be condemned. But then true religion must not suffer for that. So that is the distinction which has to be made to them, and once they begin to understand what you mean, then of course the first stigma against religion which they have seen would be removed. And then at least a common platform would appear where you can discuss it further. You have to defend the true religion as against the corrupted religion. And you have to prove that never in the history of religion, when a religion was revealed, there was anything to be blamed against that religion by way of creating disorder or trouble for mankind. In fact, they were the sufferers at the hand of rest of the mankind, at the hand of pseudo-religions, at the hand of those who claimed they were truly religious. Yet when you look in the backlight of history, turning your face backwards, then you realize the whole thing in this true perspective. Each religion suffered that fate. It fought against oppression in the name of religion, and it survived after paying heavy price. So that perspective has to be rectified first. The angle of vision has to be cured. Then they would begin to see what you mean. You say, yes, we are passing through that, exactly that phase. Here we are. We are the truly most religious people, because you know, we have been living with you, you know in this society that we are true when we say we are truly religious people. Our acts, our behavior, the whole makeup of our personalities speak for us. And yet, whatever is committed, whatever crime is committed against us is in the name of religion. Yet we don't hate that religion because we are incapable of making this distinction. So anything should start where you have something common with the thinking of the one who you are addressing. If you don't break common ground, then you will always remain an unwanted person. In fact, truly a bore person. You would say, better, be gone than waste my time.
During my recent visit to Pakistan, I came across some people who mentioned about some segment of people in Afghanistan known as Masih Musliman. Would like to throw some light on that.
I already have spoken on this subject. I have already spoken many times before. And but I briefly mentioned, because perhaps it's difficult for you to receive tapes there that far away from civilization. I don't mean any offense to you, but I mean to say it's an outlandish spot anyway. The fact is that in Iraq there is a sect of Sufis who call themselves Christian Muslims or Muslim Christians. And this fact was revealed for the first time by a British scholar from Oxford who was sent to Afghanistan to carry research work on various old sects of Sufism which are not generally known to the rest of the world. You know, they are so far removed from, again, civilization that they have defied detection so far. So that was a task given to him. It had nothing to do with Ahmadiyyat or Ahmadiyya beliefs or Jesus Christ, peace be upon him. So while making this research, roaming about in Iraq, he suddenly came upon a sect of the Sufis who called themselves Muslim Christians. And that fact was so strange and bizarre looking to him that he started further investigating this point, but in particular, though he admits that this was outside the domain of his investigation. But in itself, the fact was so interesting that he started investigating. So in the course of investigation, he met the leader of that sect, whose name was Abba Yahya. And Abba is also a title of the Jewish religious elders. So it's written Abba Yahya. He tells us in the book Among the Dervishes, which is available here in the market, that what he explained to him was this, that they were Israelites originally, who had at some time, during some time in history, migrated to these regions. And when Jesus Christ was crucified, they had already settled down in Afghanistan. According to him, that is Abba Yahya, this writer relates, Jesus Christ was crucified in the sense that an attempt was made to take his life through crucifixion. But Allah delivered him from the cross, and he did not die upon cross. That was related to him by this Abba Yahya. And after having been saved, he migrated from that place and left his homeland for the ultimate journey to Kashmir. Because, like us, Israelites had also gone that far and settled in Kashmir. So he was to carry his message to wherever Israelites had gone before, because he was the prophet of Israelites as a whole, not only of two tribes. But this is not what he is mentioned. He just says that this was the object, that he was to go and deliver the message to the rest of the Israelites in Kashmir. So while passing through here, he delivered the message and we accepted him and became Christians in the true sense. We didn't believe in any Trinity because that is what we did never preach. We did not believe in any rising from the dead because that is what he did not preach. And he left the word of God with us, which was still in scroll form, with that person, Abba Yahya, which he showed to this author. And he says, look here, this is the script which we have inherited from generation after generation. And you read it and you will not find even the remotest mention of either Trinity or death upon cross and revival, subsequent revival. So we believed in him as a true prophet, not as God or son of God in the literal sense. So we call him, now he says, we call him Jesus Christ of Nazareth and of Kashmir. He said, why of Nazareth and of Kashmir? He said, because he was born in Nazareth and died in Kashmir. Then he further explains that why we still call ourselves as Christian Muslims is this. The reason for this is that Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, was our benefactor. And he saved us from darkness and from destruction. And we love him so much, and we love him so much as a prophet, that when Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa appeared, it was because of his teachings that we immediately recognized him as a true prophet. So he led us to the greatest boon. So we don't want to forget him altogether. And this is why we combine these two qualities when in our religion. We say we are Christian Muslims because it was originally Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, who led us to the light of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the story of that Abba Yahya, which is, as I mentioned, found in the book Among the Dervishes, written by, you know the name, remember the name? It is published by Oxford University Press, and I think it's available in London. We have got a copy here. If you can't get hold of one, you better find out and order one for him. How long are you staying?
Until Monday morning.
Huh?
I should leave on Monday morning.
All right, I'll send you one for my present, as a present from me, right? Thank you. Remind me.
From Canada. This question is again from Canada. It's from Ansa Ahmed Saiba. And the note says, important please. She says, I would like you to explain in detail that in these countries the rate of income tax is about 20%. This income tax is spent for the public welfare, while the rate of zakat is 2.5%, which is also used for public welfare. Once if somebody has paid this 20% as income tax, is he obliged to pay 2.5% zakat as well, whereas the income tax is much more than the prescribed rate of Islam?
Is she paying income tax to religion or to a state, irreligious state, going state?
I think
she is paying income tax to the representatives of God, as it is mentioned in the Holy Quran, for those purposes for which the Holy Quran imposes zakat. And if she pays more than 2.5%, then of course she doesn't have to repeat that. Already she has done much more than required of her. But if she is paying to somebody else, it has nothing to do with zakat. For other purpose. Now, for the purpose to be common, even that does not relinquish her of the responsibility. Because for a common purpose, you can spend a thing in many ways. Yourself, through somebody else. For that common person, you can choose one particular sphere, and another place you can choose another particular sphere. Now, again, for instance, you spend your money as gifts, part of your money. Those gifts can be directed in various directions to your friends, to your distant relatives, to your dear relatives, to your wife and children. Now, all these have their own special sphere of expenditure. The Holy Quran gives you certain spheres of expenditure, which may be common with some other spheres, but still would be different in many respects. For instance, the money spent on the social welfare in Canada is spent only on certain aspects of social welfare, leaving many aspects out, which have been definitely mentioned by the Holy Quran. For instance, the person who is to pay chatti, as we call it, how do you spell it in English?
Chatti.
No, liability of some sort. If somebody has to pay a liability of some sort, is under that liability. The government would not care who for where he gets his money from. The government would put him behind the bar. But from zakat, you can spend on that aspect. On a wayfarer, the money allocated for such purposes by a Canadian government is not spent as wished by the Holy Quran. Any wayfarer who is deprived of his money or somehow stands in his own right to receive something out of help as a help from zakat fund. So they are mu'allafatul qulub. This is also a region which is totally left out. So this is what I mean. There is not a total, complete oneness of purposes. There are small spheres here and there which overlap, but the entire purpose is mentioned by the Holy Quran do not overlap with the purposes where such money is taken as tax by the Canadian government is spent. So number one, this concept is wrong. Number two, the the way, the why of it are also important. The Holy Quran says that this is compulsory yet voluntary. Compulsory in the sense that when you return to me, you will be answerable to me for this if you do not pay. Voluntary in the sense that in this life on earth, if you do not pay, I will not bring you to books. You will continue enjoying yourself, and you will not be questioned, you will not be answerable to anyone for not paying this. That is to say, you will be free to enjoy as you please. That is to say, if you live outside an Islamic state, and this is exactly the situation in Canada and most of the countries in the world. In a true Islamic state, this would become compulsory. But individually, it does not become compulsory to all the Muslims spread out all over the world. It's compulsory only in the sense that once a non-payer dies, then he is answerable, but not in this life. But in Canada, in Europe, in other countries, it's not compulsory in that sense. And some people also believe that it's not compulsory even in the Muslim countries. In the sense that it is zakat, yet it is not received from the non-Muslims. And because to be a Muslim is a voluntary act, so once you accept a society, then the social obligations become a part of your entire obligations. So because to become a Muslim is not compulsory, so it is not compulsory anywhere. You can always walk out of this responsibility and liability. While the taxes are completely different. No distinction is made there. And willy-nilly we have to pay the taxes. So how can zakat and taxes be confused? They are different things altogether. And the thirdly, this voluntary nature of this zakat makes it an act worthy of reward, while there is no reward attached to the tax you pay. Reward may be in the sense that something is reduced, some percentage, but that's not reward, that's lesser punishment. As far as the reward is concerned, there is no concept of reward attached to zakat whatsoever. And the zakat mentioned in the Holy Quran earns you a very great reward out of all proportion to what you really deserve. So even if she pays 20%, if she saves this 2.5%, she would be losing so much by way of reward to be received from Allah that there will be no comparison to what she is saving and what she is missing. To save 2.5% and also miss that reward, that will not at all be desirable if she really knows what's in store for her. And also if she really knows what is in store for her if she saves that money, knowing that Allah wants her to pay. Otherwise, by way of wrath for Allah, then she would not even dare to think of this. So the religious system of sacrifices is in fact not to be compared with non-religious financial systems. The objectives are different, the scopes are different, the spheres of expenditures are different, the motivations are different. Everything is in fact totally different from the taxation system as you find in the ordinary world. Now, yes please.
Islam. Actually, this question is put by my wife, and this question is... Yes. And actually, I thought...
Today is the day of Canada.
My name is Rashid Ahmed, and I'm from Canada, Mississauga.
And also you're from India?
No, actually I'm from Pakistan, from Khali.
Which part of Pakistan?
West Pakistan, Khali.
Khali? You belong to Khali?
Right, I belong to Khali. And we always actually thought that zakat is only for Muslim Islamic state. And that is only for a purpose of social benefits. To run a social Islamic...
Islam is that zakat is for every Muslim. This is a fundamental of religion, as I have mentioned earlier by quoting from the Quran. It is a fundamental of religion, not only of religion of Islam, but of every religion, of every time. The Holy Quran presents the institution of zakat as a timeless institution belonging to the very roots of religion. So it is only our ignorance that we don't know that other religions also have the same system. But as far as the claim of the Holy Quran goes, this is the claim. So if this is a fundamental of Islam, anybody who lives outside the state of Islam, how can he be without a fundamental? Fundamental is something which is a part of, as if it is a part of a definition. If you call man Haywan-e Natiq, for instance, an intelligible man, living animal, and you miss the word intelligible, will he still be a man? Any animal is a living animal, or some animals are living animals. But if they are not intelligent living animals, rational I should say, rational living animals, then they can't be called men. And if they are rational animals, but not living, dead and turned to dust, they were of course, but they are not now. So all parts of a definition must apply in one single instance. Otherwise the definition would not be applicable, or it will lose its meaning. So when the Holy Quran includes zakat in the fundamentals of religion, as such, not only of Islam, so no person can be called a religious person at all if he does not have one of the important fundamentals. There are three fundamentals mentioned as I have quoted the Holy Quran. So you can't run away from zakat unless you want to run away from Islam. It's impossible. Nobody can walk out of Islam, of zakat, without at the same time turning his back to Islam. Also, I didn't mention so many other things. Now you are here, I should also remind you that zakat is not just a system of paying your money. It is a system of paying your money for winning the favor of Allah. A present, a gift to Allah. Now, a gift to Allah cannot be received literally in form by Allah. Ultimately, it has to be spent upon you. So that expenditure part is just a secondary thing. The first important feature of zakat is that you are paying a gift to your so-called beloved. If you are not spending anything out of your earnings for your beloved, then you have no relationship with him. That's just a false claim. So this is the first initial spirit of zakat. And zakat means that it purifies your heart. It increases your love for your beloved. Now, if you are paying 20% or 80% to Canadian government out of taxes, will that fulfill this requirement? It's impossible. You can hate the Canadian government the more you pay, but you can't love Allah the more you pay the Canadian government. So that's the most fundamental thing out of zakat's definition itself. And then zakat, as is explained in the Holy Quran, is also zakat plays a very important role in increasing your wealth. Material wealth is wealth. So the Holy Quran says that it is just a fear that what you pay to Allah is diminishing your wealth. In fact, it increases your wealth, and most people don't know. They don't know how it adds blessings to one's wealth and holdings. If you truly give for the sake of Allah, you receive much more than you spend. This is the phenomena mentioned by the Holy Quran in so many ways. And this is exactly what the Ahmadis know to have happened to them. And this is a continuous living phenomena which is witnessed by every Ahmadi. What Allah pays back is much more than what you spend in His cause, in every sense. And there are also some hidden doors of His paying, which don't come to your notice until you begin to experience the difference between two phases of your life. The one where you did not pay zakat and the other where you started paying. But normally it comes so automatically that you take it for granted. For instance, many an Ahmadi has told me that, many instances, I am quoting just one or two. Many an Ahmadi has told me instances of this nature, that before paying their chanda to Allah, they suffered from one problem or another by way of people's disease, by children's diseases and mounting bills of this and that, things going out of order, that they thought they would never be able to break surface and come even with their income. And the life was made miserable because they were intentionally holding their money due to Allah on the excuse that they can't, it's impossible for them. The expenses are running too far ahead of their income, so how can they pay to Allah? So some wise man sometimes advised them, or somebody had a reservation himself, so that ultimately he started paying his dues to Allah. And the entire thing completely changed. The whole complexion was different after that. Once Chaudhry Abdullah Khan Sahib, the younger brother of Chaudhry Abdullah Khan Sahib, he also reported such a thing to me once. He told me that, it's many years ago, but he's still alive with the grace of Allah. And after that he never suffered from the same again, the same type of problem. He said he used to delay his chanda because he thought other bills had a priority. He had a car, for instance, an old car, which broke down so much that to maintain it was a tax enough. So after paying all his dues and burnt out electric motors and things and this old hag of a car, he was left with nothing. How could he pay? So he was a chanda payer in fact. But he said, all right, after a while, maybe I get some lump sum money and then I will pay. Then one fine morning, suddenly he thought, perhaps this is what is causing all this trouble. So now I am going to change my preferences. When I receive any income, I am first going to pay my chanda, then I will see whether I can make the two ends meet with the rest or not. And that is what he started with. And suddenly everything fell into order. The car ceased to go kaput. And so the rest of the things around him suddenly reformed along with him. And he said that the difference was so marked and so consistent and permanent that I was absolutely surprised at what had happened. And this is not a solitary incident. I have heard from this from so many Ahmadis. Sometimes I receive letters where Allah has exactly made certain calculations so that the person knows that this is a special thing for him. I mean, otherwise he pays without counting, without keeping counts. But in some cases, when he wants to convey a message, he is very mathematical about it. So I have known people who it's almost a routine. I receive intimation to this effect that they had that difficulty, that they had that difficulty, and they had saved that much amount for that particular purpose. And they ultimately decided, no, the requirement of religion is much more important than this ordinary requirement. So they sacrificed. And the first thing as a message from Allah was that they received the money exactly to the same amount from sources completely unknown to them. They never thought of it, for instance. For instance, some previous mistake had been committed in their accounts and some dues to them were withheld. And the moment they decided to pay 6,343 rupees to Jamaat Ahmadiyya, for instance, the next day they receive a letter intimating them that we made a mistake, we are sorry, we owe you 6,343 rupees or whatever I said before. Exactly to the same amount. And these incidents are so many among Ahmadis that for a student of law of large numbers, it is impossible to omit them. No game of chance can ever produce such large number of instances in so short a community, which are so consistent with each other and which are so rare, normally so unknown to the rest of the world. So Allah immediately begins to pay you and to tell you, to inform you that you are not reducing your income, you are increasing it somehow. This is exactly the literal meaning of zakat. So it works in two ways. Spiritually promoting you and elevating your position by giving you greater love of Allah, greater satisfaction out of your own love for Allah, and secondly in the material direction as well. But I wonder if your Canadian 20% would do that to you. No, of course, yes, I know, I understand. And convey my regards to Ansa when you returned. I received letters from her very regularly. For the last 2 years, she's so regular writing to me, and she has such pious intentions and thoughts. very truly devout lady. Yes.
And I am blessed.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, please. Sunil?
I want, if you allow me, I would like to tell you an experience of mine which I experienced recently.
I mean, of similar nature? An experience of similar nature?
No, it was a dream which was fulfilled in one way. I'm expecting,
You are expecting the rest also to be fulfilled?
yes.
Okay.
On the 7th, 6th and 7th, I saw a dream, night of 6th and 7th, that my father, whose name is Shamsul Haq, was asking me to ride the train to Victoria. Victoria train.
Train to Victoria.
Yeah. I took the Victoria train, and that was all my dream. And when tomorrow, the next day, I had to go to Croydon for some work.
Right.
Yeah. And the route which I took was to Clapham Junction to and from there British to Croydon. But the Victoria is towards Central. And that time I asked them when the train will come. They said the trains are delayed, and when I was going to the bus, I was thinking this dream what it meant. But then I got the word Victoria, victory. So I was glad enough, and then I forgot this dream. They said the trains are delayed and you have to go to Victoria first, and then take the East Croydon train from there. When I went there and I got the other train from East Croydon, then I reminded of the same dream, and I was very surprised how this was fulfilled. And then
before you had decided to go to Victoria to catch the Croydon train, you had not recollected the dream.
Yeah, completely I was. Then I was coming back from Croydon. I took the wrong train unintentionally, and which was non-stop and didn't stop at the platform junction, and I again back to Victoria. And then I had to come back by the time to Victoria.
So you were expecting the rest of your life always to go to Victoria. What you are expecting now?
So there is that may Allah fulfill this dream, and we call for Ahmadis as well, to be with us. The thing which I think it indicates that Shamsul Haq is son of the truth, has
SU1 son you mean?
yes,
That's right.
son, I mean Shamsul Haq.
That's right.
Directed me to, and may Allah
Victoria you mean victory, one with victory.
yes, that's right.
So you are sent twice to Victoria with that message in reality. That's your interpretation.
Yes.
I hope Allah will fulfill that interpretation. Yes. Inshallah. Okay. Now Dr. Mujibul Khan Sahib. Let people come in pairs.
Taking the question of zakat and paying chanda or inland revenue taxes, it is quite evident, sir, that paying to the inland revenue and paying zakat are two different things. But the Prophet Messiah, made it incumbent on Ahmadis to pay their chanda at least minimum 16.
No, never did.
As I guess it is incumbent on Ahmadis to pay their chanda on their income.
Whatever they promised.
Is it not, sir, 116?
No. It was decided by the community as such. Later on, in Majlis Shura, it was decided that the decision was taken by the community.
Right.
That Hazrat Masih Maud has left it to us. That whatever we promised once, we must fulfill it till the end of our life and continue paying it regularly. So we decide as a body of the Ahmadiyya Majlis Shura that we inshallah will pay as minimum 1/16th of our income towards Ahmadiyya.
Right. So having said that, this chanda of course is spent in the cause of Islam, in the way of Allah, and zakat also is meant for the same. And zakat in this sense is less than 1/16th.
Correct?
Does it mean, sir, that if one pays minimum 1/16th, he is exempt from zakat?
No? How do you infer this? I don't see any logic in this.
So I thought that the chanda which we pay, 1/16th or whatever we promise, is for the same purpose, for the same reason, in the way of Allah.
No. For the same purpose only in the sense that it is also because of our love for Allah.
Sir.
But the purposes of expenditure are different. And Hazrat Masih Maud has never absolved you of your responsibility by saying that the zakat would be a part of this chanda and the rest would be an additional factor to zakat. He never said that. And it was never understood as such by any Ahmadi before. So the practice is that you pay your zakat because you have to follow the injunctions of the Holy Quran, not only in spirit but also in letters, as much as possibly you can. So if you pay zakat in the name of zakat, not intermixing it with other things. Pay zakat as such. And then if you can pay extra, in fact Ahmadis pay much more than zakat, and these 2.5% is just an ordinary elementary thing to them now. They pay as if nothing has happened. Zakat is something very important in the sense that it's difficult for the rest of the Ahmadis to pay even zakat. But the Ahmadis some of them have paid 75% of their income. What is 2.5% to them? It's just nothing.
This question about the Holy Quran. As this was the universal message received to the universal teacher, and also Holy Quran says we have raised prophets among all nations of the world. Some of whom have been mentioned to thee, addressing the Holy Prophet, and some of them we have not mentioned to thee. It's very surprising that only the prophets raised in the Middle East have been mentioned in the Holy Quran. Not a single instance can be found of prophets who came to China, who came to Buddhists, India, yet the promised Messiah said they were all true prophets.
The prophet in India who has been mentioned in the Holy Quran.
Pardon?
Yet to believe in a prophet in India who has been mentioned in the Holy Quran.
Yes, the promised Messiah also said that they were true prophets, even all are.
You are contradicting yourself. You are contradicting yourself by saying that the Holy Quran has not mentioned any prophet in India.
Yes.
Yet you believe in a prophet
No, he didn't mention the name.
who was mentioned by the Holy Quran.
Yes.
Ismahu Ahmad.
Well, this has been interpreted both ways. It means Holy Prophet.
Both ways too.
But
It works both ways. Not only interpreted, it's truly it works both ways.
particularly it means the future prophet. If this fits on the promised Messiah, the previous prophets had not been mentioned. No prophet before the Holy Prophet of Islam.
Who is Zulkifl?
Well, it's relating to one prophet in Iraq, I think.
The truth
Well, you can write
commentators are just left guessing. They don't know who Zulkifl is true.
Well, you can explain it.
I'm explaining it. You know what I'm doing exactly. The first thing is that I have spoken on this subject a few times before and at some detail. you better have recourse to that cassette which is available from London. This is why I was just playing with you, not answering truly, because it would take a longer time. And all the aspects of this question, well, not all, but many aspects of this question have been answered by me previously. And I have given the philosophy reason why this policy has been adopted by the Holy Quran, because if the fact is that if you conceive of a situation where the Holy Quran begins to speak in name of other prophets, of other religions, of other chains of prophets, then it would become practically impossible for the Holy Quran to retain its small volume and yet to convey the message it wants to convey, because then that small volume would be full of names only, and yet you would require some other volumes, many other volumes in fact, because to mention 124 prophets by name, 124,000 prophets by name is a huge task, which to adopt and which to leave out, whom to take and whom to omit. That is the first question which has to be solved in principle. So first think of an answer to that question, then suggest. You understand? If you want the Holy Quran to mention other names of other ages, not only, why should it be only of other countries? Why should it not be of other ages as well? Because as the instance we have quoted, the illustration you have given, there not only the Middle Eastern prophets have been mentioned, but the Middle Eastern prophets starting from the beginning of the time of Adam. So this analogy would be applicable to the other prophets only if you expect the Holy Quran to mention not only the prophets of other religions but also prophets of all times in other religions. If the Holy Quran mentions one prophet of one particular time of a religion and leaves the rest out, another Mamun can stand up and say, well, I'm not interested in religions as much as in times. If the Holy Prophet has mentioned a prophet of this particular time and age, why has he not mentioned other prophets of other ages? What is wrong with them? So it will go on and on. But that is just I'm pointing out to certain objections. The fact is that I have spoken on this subject and discussed it in detail, the reason why these prophets have been omitted and what was the compelling reason. And the reason why, again, why prophets of this region were definitely mentioned. And if they were not mentioned, the Holy Quran would be incomplete without their mention. And again, by omitting the mention of the other prophets, what have we lost? In essence, or have we lost in nothing? So all these aspects have been discussed. And Zulkifl, by the way, according to many Muslim scholars, is Hazrat Buddha. He belonged to the town of Kapil. Yes?
Among Hindus?
Yes, in India, in Nepal perhaps. Kapil is in Nepal or somewhere in India. In Bihar, yes. Where Buddha was born. So, when the Holy Quran says Zulkifl, in fact Kifl and Kapil are interchangeable. The Arabs cannot pronounce Pe, so they turn it to Fe. Or maybe it's the other way around. The real name was Kifl and it was distorted into Kapil. So some scholars argue that he is a prophet of India by the name of Buddha, who has been mentioned as Zulkifl. So this is why I particularly mentioned his name. just to prove that Allah knows but is omitting all these names intentionally with some purpose. He has just mentioned one name which is not known to ordinary people, not even to the Arabs. And it was understood much later than when it was mentioned. So that was the way, the style of the Holy Quran, that to satiate one's inner thirst for something, drops a hint which can be utilized later on or by some scholarly people when the occasion arises. Yes, please. I think now the people are feeling sleepy. How are you feeling? Yes. Are you already asleep? Again, I thought you were All right, then we call it a day. And tomorrow, inshallah, between Asr and, between Maghrib and Isha, we will sit. Before you have eaten. Right? Big fun?
Yesterday there was a marriage party.
Yesterday there was a marriage party?
Tomorrow there is a marriage party.
So you have also gone to sleep. Fine? Now you're dreaming of the marriage party to be tomorrow as having happened in yesterday.
Tomorrow, sir, and one day after tomorrow. Marriage party.
It's tomorrow.
One tomorrow and another walima day after.
I see. Marriage party, walima is the day after?
Yes, sir.
So it is the walima he's worried about.
I understand tomorrow about 3:30 or 3.
Well, that doesn't matter. Rustana you can miss without much loss. But walima, of course not. Right? Let there be a Rustana. Some people will go to Rustana because that would be between Zohar and between Asr and Maghrib. Not between Maghrib and Isha as you mentioned.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, so no clash. Anyway. Right?